It's like when you were hiking somewhere and a bear comes out. I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun the person with me.
And now we're done.
You're listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, where HIPAA and humor collide to make learning fun. Your delightful hosts are Donna Grindle and David Sims. Relax. HIPAA help is on the way.
Welcome to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast. My name is David Sims. I'm with HIPAA for MSPs. And joining me as always is Donna Grindle with Cardin Compliance. Hey, Donna.
Hey, David.
What's going on? It's been a while.
I know. We're behind on getting things recorded, so our stuff will be more current. Yeah. Don't you love it when people ask us something about what was just released and we recorded it 3 weeks ago and we don't remember what it was?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for people who listen, they probably think we record this a few days beforehand, but no, typically we record weeks beforehand.
Yeah, otherwise I freak out.
Yep. So we have had some things going on in our businesses and personal lives that have kept us from recording the past, week or so. So we are coming up close to running out of what's in the reserve can.
Which is precisely why we have a reserve can. So David can be canned. That's why.
Yes, I can. So today we are going to take our listeners down deep into the DarkNet.
Dun, dun, dun.
Which we mentioned this back in episode 62 a little bit about something that was happening on the DarkNet. And just to kind of give a little primer about the DarkNet and kind of how we got to talking about this is there's kind of do I remember?
Oh, primer? I thought it was
primer. No, that's for
primary.
So the DarkNet is kind of a side of the internet that you have to access through the use of certain tools and software. And that's where a lot of the crazy stuff goes on and illegal activities and hacking and just lots of cool stuff and some not so cool stuff.
Yeah, it's where you're really anonymous for all you people who think, oh, I won't let them do tracking cookies and then they won't be able to know. No, when you're on the internet, it's still not. We know where you're going. If we want to know, we know. Mm-hmm. But on the DarkNet, no, different world.
Yep. So, but you're not going to, we mentioned this in the podcast. You're not going to get on, pull up Google Chrome and just say, darknet.com and you're in. It's a little more complicated than that, but it's not so complicated that you can't get there. Mm-hmm. And once you're in, you better have a little bit of knowledge about what's going on, or it could be bad.
Mm-hmm.
So, having give you that, there are things that happen on the DarkNet where they sell health records and information. You often wonder, you hear about so and so had a breach and they got all these records and they're going to sell them on the internet. Well, they don't do that on eBay. It's not on Craigslist. They do that through the DarkNet and the things that are happening in the quote unquote underground of the internet.
Yeah, there's a site called Real Deal. That's where these are. It's a real deal.
So what we picked up on a few weeks ago was that there was a case that happened where some medical records were floating around and nobody knew where they were coming from.
Yeah, a hacker had posted them out there and had several different collections that they had for sale. And the hacker's name was the Dark Overlord.
Yeah, that's a cool name.
Yes. Some of the articles call it the Dark Lord, but I like the Dark Overlord better.
Do you picture like Darth Vader in your head?
I do. I can't control it.
yeah, he's like sitting at a laptop. He's sitting at a laptop with a breathing apparatus.
So we're going to call it TDO because there's no way I can say the Dark Overlord several times in a row and not concentrate on it the way it's required. So TDO is the hacker. Oh, we don't know anything about the hacker. That's a big part of it.
But we can interview him.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been several interviews, and it's all about, well, we'll get into that. And there's a reason it's specifically to taunt your targets and put pressure on them to pay these ransoms. And by the way, these are held for ransom, but it's not using ransomware. They're like, we took your data and we're going to publish it out there and sell it to somebody else unless you pay us money. It's that kind of ransom. Not you can't have it. You can go on and do your own stuff, but we're going to throw it out here for everybody to see.
It's kind of traditional ransom.
Yeah. And so on the website, there was, and it would say the ad, there was actually an ad that said, healthcare database from Farmington, Missouri, United States, 48,000 patients. This product is considerably large database in plain text from a healthcare organization. And then it said it was retrieved from a Microsoft Access database within their internal network using readily available plain text usernames and passwords. So they even say, and I've had access to this system since early 2016. I only started getting aggressive with data collection recently in May, and he only knew of my access once I sent him the ransom email. They use, he puts all these details. They use a Microsoft Access database, an EHR system called MedTech, storing plain text usernames and passwords, all unencrypted, everything. So it puts it all out there.
Yeah.
And then he had another one that had 210,000 patients from Central Midwest United States, a very large one. It was retrieved from a severely misconfigured network using readily available plain text usernames and passwords. And I was like, this is getting bad. And then the one that really got my attention was from Atlanta, Georgia. Hello. And it was the biggest one.
Did you go see him?
I don't know. Because it doesn't tell you who it is, the original one. And that's what we were talking about in the previous episode. It didn't tell you who it was. And I actually have to say that databreaches.net, Dissent, DISSENT, is that how it's spelled? I got it in here somewhere. But the reporter at databreaches.net has done a fantastic job being all over this thing. And that individual talks about, hey, I'm not a security person. I work in healthcare and I am horrified by what I see. And that's why I do this. So hats off to Dissent at databreaches.net. And if you want to read some scary stuff, start reading databreaches.net. But the reporter there was mentioning how I can't find a corresponding breach in the HHS or, website or anywhere. And that's what the original thing was about. And then this one was retrieved from an accessible internal network using readily available plain text usernames and passwords. It contains 396,458 patients.
So that's big.
The most common health insurance is Blue Cross Blue Shield. The second is United Healthcare. The plain text database is over 200 meg in size. And they make a point in the ad, ownership of this database will be exclusive and only a single copy will be sold. This has not been leaked anywhere. It has not been abused. If you're interested in purchasing the database and would like to make an offer other than what is listed, send a private message. Only serious offers will be entertained. What? And then as a final note to the entity, the hacker put a note in there. Next time an adversary comes to you and offers you an opportunity to cover this up and make it go away for a small fee to prevent the leak, take the offer. There is a lot more to come.
Oh, that's not
and it even included screenshots. So you could see that it was on a computer monitor or a screenshot. It was unbelievable. And then right after that one came out, then came a health insurance database with 9.3 million. A plain text 2 gigabyte database.
Wow.
Retrieved using a 0 day within the RDP protocol that gave direct access to this information.
Mm-hmm.
And, the point of the hacker is I got all of this and, I'm holding it ransom. And none of these were listed out anywhere. So the hacker then takes interviews from people after it's been out there in, secret chat rooms on the DarkNet. And again, you're very anonymous on the DarkNet. And so here were some. All hacks were using a 0-day vulnerability in RDP to get inside the network, but then they used other simple targets to get the data, such as the plain text storage of usernames and passwords. And how many times, David, have you gone in and somebody will say, "What's so-and-so's password? Who's got the spreadsheet?"
Almost every time. Way more than it should happen.
Yeah. Easy to find databases and vulnerable medical software, so that it was, quote, "it was like taking candy from a baby."
Yeah. Have you ever really done that?
No, I've never snatched candy away from a baby. But I love that Jimmy Kimmel bit where he has the parents do that on Halloween. You ever see that?
No.
It's a great bit. You can get them all on YouTube, where he has the parents the morning after Halloween. The kids get up, of course, they want their candy, and has the parents film it as the parents tell them, "I ate all your candy." And the kids some of them just have an absolute meltdown. And then some of them are like, "Okay, well, if you wanted it, I guess, I can have it." But, it's absolutely hysterical to watch the way these kids react. And some of them are okay until they find out mom and dad was just joking, and then they have a meltdown. So this is not funny. So anyway, you got to check them out. But back to that is that according to the hacker, someone wanted to buy all of the Blue Cross and Blue Shield insurance records. Just that.
Must have been Blue Cross and Blue Shield.
Well, you know what it made me think of is that Anthem breach. So this would let them then match it up to the database and do some more confirmation on these are still valid records. So why not just pay, is what the hacker said. Money makes it all go away. It's a modest cost compared to, and this is part of the quote, "the total financial damage you will suffer if it's leaked." And made another point of saying, "we're just getting started." So
at one point, he referred to himself as I, and then he referred to himself as we.
Yeah, it could be a she. It could be a collective, because, a lot of times they're collective.
Right, and that's kind of what my point was, is that I don't know that this is just one person somewhere. This may be a group.
Yeah. So this all happened at the end of June. So so June 26th is when they went for sale. And according to the hacker's been in since early 2016 in there doing stuff, and no one's noticed. Then on the 28th is when the big insurance one and the interviews start coming out. And there is another article that then comes out on and we're going to have links to all these, of course, because there's so many articles that are basically telling you the same thing. And all of these people are interviewing the hacker in these chat rooms, and the information is consistent. The information is verified. So there's no reason at this point to not believe what they're saying about having more. And there's
time. So how do we get him on the show?
Ooh, that's an idea.
How do we get him on the show? If you're the Dark Overlord, give us a call.
Yeah, that's right. We'll give you the voice covering thing and all that. Yeah, no. David, your job is to get on the DarkNet and interview, and then we can read the answers. So,
is his name Boyan?
That's funny. And so this journalist talks to the hacker on how, when the hacker, quote, targeted a small orthopedic clinic. Now, from the information that was being published, it appeared that all of these sites were orthopedic, or at least some level of orthopedic. They had PAC systems and those kind of things. So in this article, the journalist says, the hacker tells me he's trying to obtain a ransom from the clinic. In mid-June, he sent a chilling ransom letter by email to the clinic's founder. And he sends it to the journalist, and the ransom note states, "We have hacked your network, and we have everything, including your valuable electronic patient records." The letter is more than 2,000 words long, names family members of the clinic's founder and includes some of their social security numbers.
Oh, that'll get your attention.
You would think, but the reason it's posted out there is they're not paying, and they're certainly not publishing it. So it goes on to say, remember that because we are honest people, I love it when the criminals say, well, we're honest criminals. Because we are honest people, nothing will happen to you or anyone you know if you comply with our demands.
If.
But it's now talking about anyone you know.
Wow.
Oh, and by the way, we advise that you keep all of this to yourself for you and your loved one's sake. I mean, that's kind of scary stuff.
That's kind of getting beyond data.
Yeah. We're not playing around now. I want this money. I have everything. I have complete control of your network.
And another thing, too, that's interesting, because I don't want to gloss over, is number one, it's a small clinic. And number two, it was targeted. Because most of the things we see is somebody just fell for a phishing scam or something like that and it ended up being a breach. But this was targeted at a small clinic.
Well, apparently, it's like the hackers broke in and then they're using, and there was a discussion about the fact that this 0-day flaw, and 0-day means it's not really something everybody knows about. It's not something that's been fixed.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you can get a patch for it. And supposedly in another interview, the hacker said, I will not sell my 0-day flaw that I'm using. I'm keeping that one to myself so that I can continue my work. They're not playing.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's messing around. And the reason that they now are specifically targeting is because they found specific software on these networks that they could infiltrate and turn it into their own little mining device to go let them into networks. So they are now targeting anyone with the software that they have taken control of. So the plot thickens. In another interview, this particular article was talking about how a hacker is gaming the media to extort money from the victims. And the hacker says this has always been a specific method and plan, to the madness of we're going to do this, then we're going to do this. And if they don't pay, we're going to do this. And then we'll sell it out for Bitcoins or something so we're going to be honest and let them buy it back.
Let's give them an opportunity.
Yeah. So one final attempt to get them to pay up before selling the records, and makes a point of saying in some of the interviews that some of the victims did pay up.
So maybe he should be the nice overlord.
The databases you see listed are ones who have either declined to pay or their deadlines are coming up and we want to put a little pressure on them. But the big on that particular one is the journalists were discussing, what do you do? And do you not report on these major breaches so that the hacker doesn't get help? Or are you obligated to report on it? Well, these are major breaches. And if people are paying ransom money to keep it under wraps and they're trusting the honest hacker to really not turn around and sell it, they should be telling everybody about it. These are supposed to be reported. And if your data's out there, I feel bad for the patients, and I could be one of them.
Yeah.
So, but then the plot thickens and there's more records posted for sale. And then here comes the biggie, is source code for an HL7 interface engine that's part of an EHR system is published along with the digital key signatures. Now that's big.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
I'm getting anything now.
Well, but the thing is they've got the source code. This is why they're targeting. They've gotten this source code, but the digital signatures is what's very important, because that means that I can talk to that software. If I can get into that network, I can talk to that software. And because I have that digital key, that's allowing it to say, oh, okay, I know you. And I'm going to do what you tell me to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's how it works. And the quote when one of the code's published out there and it's for sale. and there's pieces of it that's been seen. And so it's pretty easy for the folks to track it down, who the vendor is.
Mm-hmm.
And they contacted the vendor, and the vendor said there was no PII or PHI at risk. Not to worry about it.
Sure.
And the hacker's response when the journalist mentioned that was to laugh and say, well, of course not, except when I use their code to find exploits in all their clients. Also, since I was in their system, I signed a backdoor into their client because I had access to their certificate signing. It got pushed out in an update a few weeks ago. So yeah, no PII, PHI my ass is what the hacker said. So yes, this is where we talk about software vendors thinking, okay, well, we've got the security down.
Mm-hmm.
It's scary out there, people. We tried to tell you.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy.
So, and it keeps happening because then there's more coming out and there's actual images are now included, and they've been able to identify because it's working with HL7. HL7 is actually connecting documents and images. It's not just flat data files.
Mm-hmm.
And he is actively looking, or TDO is actively looking for new servers from the healthcare world and doing mass scanning for those servers every day so that they can find more of them. And a security expert's quoted in this article as, he's not stopping with 5 or 7 victims. He has more and has consulted with other bad actors for advice for further distribution. And we expect that will happen.
So what do you do?
Well, the plot keeps thickening, you know. So we did find out it's not an Atlanta clinic because Athens Orthopedic from Athens, Georgia, home of UGA.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to their website, it says, we take care of the dogs. Let us take care of you. They're the ones with the 397,000 records that have been stolen. And they came out and admitted that, and they are notifying patients of the hack and doing their breach notification. They publicly acknowledged it. So the data got sent out on June 26th. So that says to me, he said he had it, TDO had it, and was ransoming it before then. So let's say middle June, you know? I don't know how long you would give them. You know, everybody wants 2 weeks. I don't know. Did he give 2 days?
They had a net 14.
I know, right? But on July 25th, they finally publicly acknowledged that it was them. And they, as part of the process, the amount of the ransom was roughly $335,000 based on the calculations that they've done. Because, of course, it's in Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
In the big picture, that's not a lot of money compared to what they're about to do.
Yeah.
But it still doesn't alleviate the requirement for them to publish that this is taking place. So
if you have insurance for this type for breaches, does it cover paying the ransom, or do you have to let it go through and then they pay for the damage?
I don't know.
That's a good question.
Yeah, we're going to have to get some, I think still a lot of insurers are still trying to figure out how do you properly cover and address this stuff.
Or properly not cover it.
Yeah, avoid it because, we've talked about that before in another episode about, how that's going to court with travelers saying that Cottage Health, you're not meeting your end of the bargain. You weren't doing these things. So, but it is coming out who those ones that have been posted online were, at least. We don't know all of the ones. And clearly there's somebody in Oklahoma City because one of the tweets from TDO, they stopped tweeting. The account's gone now. But one of the tweets thanked an Oklahoma City organization for paying up.
Yeah.
And they did name some of the victims on Twitter. But there's Athens Orthopedic, then there's Prosthetic and Orthotic Care in Fairview, Illinois, and then there's this big conglomerate thing owned by a Dr. Van Ness, but it's several imaging centers across the Midwest in the Missouri area.
Mm-hmm.
So got in and got all of those. And so it's clearly not over. This is going to continue to grow. It's going to be a bigger thing. There's not a lot of people talking about it yet because it's not really been reported on the big news, because nobody's had to come out and do their, Athens Orthopedic and these other guys are going to have to do their press release any day now and say, it's just like the same old thing is, are you going to protect yourself now? Or are you going to wait till it happens? And most surveys say, well, we're going to wait until it happens. Well, wake up, people, because there's a lot of you out there, apparently.
Yeah.
So the specific vendors that are mentioned in the TDO are, it's a company called Pilot Fish Technology in Connecticut was mentioned, and they write an interface engine. We don't know if it's the one for sale, but it may be embedded into other EHRs because it looks like that's what they do. So you want to ask your EHR company if they use this HL7 interface engine from Pilot Fish Technology. And then several of the screenshots that were posted on the DarkNet for sale to prove that you had the data is SRS EHR software. And TDO specifically mentioned how easy it was to get into that software.
That's not good advertising.
Yeah. And so, and I don't know these companies. I don't know anything about it. All I know is they're being reported as being able to, jump in and use these pieces of software is how they've been able to do it. So who knows? And it just brings us right back around to when we originally talked about this, is that business associates are where they're getting in. It involves the software companies, involve the vendors. Yeah, maybe the RDP, a 0 day, but if your IT people have that set up for you, start asking questions because it's one that even Microsoft doesn't know about the vulnerability. And there's plenty of vendors that are setting things up that are allowing people to get in. And there's been there's a Bismatics breach. This company has been around for 15 years, 15,000 practices using their apps and revenue cycle management. And they're not sure how much the hacker actually got. The practices are starting to announce it. There's another chiropractic center that said the administrator account had been created and subsequently made hidden by our third-party software vendor at the point of installation of our patient medical record. So the vendor created an admin account that the client didn't even know about, and that admin account was used to hack them. And then there's the one that you found where the Ukrainian hacker, the Ukrainian hacker came out and said, I did it.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, it was a Ukrainian hacker posted on Twitter that he had hacked the urology group and posted some images of names and addresses and date of birth. I think some medical information. I don't. He didn't say anything about him giving them a chance to pay. Bad guy.
Yeah, not an honest crook at all.
Not an honest crook. No. Why would you do that?
Honest people.
I know. Just find an honest hacker that'll give you an opportunity to pay.
So this is huge.
Yeah, it's getting worse and worse and worse.
Now that this has been found, I guarantee you that these hackers now we've said they're going to target you more because you're so weak on security. And the weaknesses you have, you don't even know.
Right.
And you and I may not even know. I don't know that I would know that an EHR vendor was embedding a third-party HL7 piece that was, because there's only so much we can do. We have to ask the vendors, how are you doing this? So if you're a software vendor, you better be asking, how is this stuff being secured, and particularly open source stuff,
Yeah, well, it goes to that, some of these software vendors say, well, we create an interface, we don't touch PHI, so we're not bound by HIPAA at all. We don't have to deal with that. But you can see how using their technology can open the door for that. And it's, we just use that as an example because that's what you talk about, but there's other examples you can use as well that people access things and they say, well, we're not bound by HIPAA because we don't do X, Y, Z. but they still have their hand in things that could open doors.
Yeah, and they're not obligated, and they're not paying attention either to make sure that they're doing things. And that's not to say all of them are that way. And even, it's possible that you've got vendors and no one thought that part through, and no one's perfect.
No, there's always going to be vulnerabilities out there.
Yeah,
always.
It's not like you can block it. So we're not saying software companies are evil. What we're saying is you can't assume, because we know what assume does.
Don't do anything to me.
Yeah. You and me. But it is a bigger thing. And if any of this is going to continue, because so far they take sample data that TDO would give them, and they could confirm that it was. Now, and there's another question on the insurer. The insurer insists the reporters were able to get data. They found somebody in the sample. They contacted the individual. The individual said, "This is the only insurance I have ever had. I've never had another kind of insurance," which is weird, I know, but they swear this is the only one. So it could be a young person, but this is the only one I've ever had. They call the insurer, and the insurer says, "Not us. We didn't give it up." Okay. What business associate gave it up?
Yeah.
And what is it? So somebody's using RDP to get to that data somehow. He's made that clear. TDO's made it clear, whoever that is. So if you find yourself getting a ransom letter and an email, then take it seriously, because you've got a big problem. At least evaluate what's going on and try to figure out what's happening. And on intrusion, I'm done. An intrusion may be hard to find. So know that, and this is going to be bigger. We'll probably talk about it some more. And we've got plenty of stuff. Our lack of recording is not due to lack of information. OCR has been busy. They are wearing me out with the stuff that they are announcing, and more of this is going to come. And these haven't even gotten to OCR yet. Maybe they just are, but I mean, it's like really recent that they're getting to OCR. So these are huge things. And we just saw the big settlement with a business associate. Hello, software companies. It's coming down the pipe. You're going to need to pay attention to these things. And I know you can't be perfect, and I know you're trying, but you can't be arrogant about it. Like the other people that said, no PII or PHI is at risk due to us.
Not my problem.
Yeah. I'm touching you. I'm touching you. I'm touching you.
Yeah. Another thing too, because I know when people listen to things like this, some people take action and other people go, well, it's just going to get out there anyway, and they have that kind of, I can't really do anything about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, what he has said, and this is indicative a lot of times, is that it's typically the easy ones that they go with. There's so many easy ones out there that they're not going to waste time for those that take a little bit of effort.
When it comes to security, you just have to be more secure than your neighbor. That's it.
Yeah. It's like when you were hiking somewhere and a bear comes out, I don't have to outrun the bear. I just have to outrun the person with me.
And now we're done.
So that's why I go hiking with out of shape people. So I can run faster.
Like you go hiking now.
I have. I've been on the Appalachian Trail.
When?
A couple years ago. Yep. I was out there for 4 days.
How far did you make it?
30 miles.
That's awesome.
Yep.
It was more than a couple of years ago, wasn't it?
No.
All right, well,
it was not.
We'll check those facts. I'm going to get dissent on it, because that guy, the reporter, whoever it is, they're dogged on this, and we're following it. And we appreciate the efforts to keep up with this, because some of these clinics aren't responding at all, even though they've been able to figure it out based on the data. And they call the clinics, and the clinics have gotten the ransom letter. They're told this stuff is just out here on Pastebin and it's available to be taken, and they're not taking action. So we're going to hear a lot about this. This is not the end.
So would that be considered a breach notification letter?
We'll just forward the ransom notification to everybody.
Yeah, we got this in our email today. Thought we'd let you know about it.
We're just sharing this with you. We don't know how it happened.
But yeah, do something. At least do the best practices of security and things like that. And we've talked before about how convenience and security sometimes don't go hand in hand. But do your best to be diligent. I mean, it's kind of sad that this hacker guy he's done more risk analysis and put it out there than what most people do for themselves. Well, I mean, he tells you how he's getting into stuff.
What they're doing. So, ask if you're using an RDP, by the way, is remote desktop protocol. So it's built into the Microsoft system and it allows you to go in and take over your desktop. If you're doing that, ask some questions because there's clearly a vulnerability that hackers know about and they're going to jump on that and use it to get into your network. So start asking questions about how can we better secure it. And
don't use it.
No, don't use it. That'd be
it's not the first time. Yeah, I mean, this happens to, it seems like RDP protocol comes up every few years where there's a problem with it and people hack. So I wouldn't use it. I never use it. I turn it off and block the port.
Definitely don't use it from outside. I don't believe in opening that puppy up and
use a VPN.
And then you can use it.
Yep.
But still, plain text, username and passwords, stop it. Stop it. Software companies and you who has the master password list in a document or in a spreadsheet. Stop it.
If you're going to do anything, I mean, write it on a piece of paper so it can't be.
Oh, God, no. Because then it's like, well, everybody lost it. So LastPass, Dashlane, something.
Yeah, that's the best way. But you've probably seen it before too, where you're on somebody's computer and they have an actual Word document that says passwords.
Yeah, I have no idea what's in there.
Yeah, the link. I mean, links to where they go to and everything.
Yeah,
it's just you got to be smarter than the average bear.
Yeah, just be smarter than the next guy.
Yeah. All right, so that is our show for today. If you enjoyed today's show, head on over to iTunes and give us a rating. We much appreciate it because that's pretty much what we work for because Donna doesn't pay me anything.
No way I'm paying you for what you do.
Look at him. Share us out on social media. All you have to do is go to our Twitter feed and just click retweet or go to Facebook and share it. That's all you have to do. You don't even have to come up with your own stuff.
Or LinkedIn. Or
Google Plus. Ones we do.
Yeah, we're slapping it out there.
Yep. So visit our website, helpmewithhipaa.com. Lots of great stuff going on there. You can even leave a question, and we might feature it in a future podcast.
Yeah.
So, Donna, anything else?
Oh, you can tweet us questions, too. Just share with reckless abandon. Go ahead, do it.
Yes. Just tweet us away.
Okay.
Oh,
and
boy.
I will not let David answer the questions as best I can.
Oh, come on. I figured if they're going to get your 2 cents worth, mine's got to be worth at least a penny.
Okay, yeah. All right.
All right. So remember, HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care. And by the way, if you're the Dark Overlord, give me a call. We'll interview you.
We would love it. Thank you very much.
Next week. Bye.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.